Hello YouTube, CJ here, and welcome to my Disney tier list. This is going to be a series. Also, forgive me if I sound sick. I have a pretty bad cold today, but I still wanted to try and record this. But yeah, I've been. There's a section on Disney Plus called the Walt Disney Animated Studio section. So I turned my head away from the mic a couple times there. I'm totally a professional at this. But there's a Walt Disney Animated Studios collection on Disney Plus, and I've been going through it so that I can make... because I haven't seen all of the classic Disney movies. Like, I've seen... before starting this at least, like I had seen some of them, and I really liked a lot of them that I had seen, but for the most part, I'd mostly seen like ones that were more recent, like ones made after the 2000s. I actually haven't seen that many of the like really old classic ones, so I'm going through and I'm going to rank sort of all the movies of a specific Disney era after I watch like one full era, which is about a decade to 2 decades worth of Disney movies. Once I rank all of them, then like whenever I get around to watching the next era, I will rank all of those on the tier list, and then once I finish all of that, I'm going to make a super tier list where I rank every single Disney movie ever created, or every animated Disney movie ever created that is available on Disney Plus. I will not, unless for some reason people really want me to, I don't think I'm going to be watching Song of the South because you can't really for some reason you can't really find that one on Disney Plus. I actually have no idea how bad that movie is, or if it's even that bad, because I haven't seen it. But I don't feel like going out of my way to pirate it, and there's like no legitimate way you can watch it, basically. So yeah, I'm probably not going to be ranking that one. But basically all the other animated Disney movies I'm going to rank. So, the first Disney era that I want to start with is the Disney era that goes from the 1930s to the 1940s. The first movie in this era would be Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs. And the last movie in this era would be The Adventures of Ichabod and Mr. Toad. So, with that being said, let's just get started. Oh, and for anyone curious, I am going to be including anthology movies as well. I almost didn't want to, but I've gotten through most of them anyway. I don't really like the I'll spoil this a little bit. I'm not super big on the anthology movies for the most part, but they're like, I don't know, they got some good things in them here and there. Like, they're cool ideas for anthologies, but in execution, I just like, maybe it was really cool back when they first came out, but most of them I don't find as entertaining in this day and age, and that's how I feel about a lot of the Disney movies of this era, but I still think they have a lot of good to them. So I'm going to start with Snow White. So Snow White is interesting. I'm just putting it there for now while I think about this for a second. It's not F. I'm not necessarily saying it's F tier. I was incredibly impressed by how good the animation was for the time. There were some things in the movie that looked slightly awkward, but for the most part, the animation flowed really, really well. It looked gorgeous. Snow White herself looks a bit odd in some of the shots. Like, I don't know. She looks off. It feels like they animated her differently from how they animated some of the other characters. I think I might have heard she might have been like rotoscoped or something like that. But I'm not 100% sure if that's true. So yeah, in terms of just animation, overall, I would say it's almost A tier. But then in terms of story, it's well, this movie is mostly kind of a slice of life type of movie. Like most of the movie is just Snow White cleaning and occasionally singing in this house with these dwarfs, and not really much is happening until the end. And again, I'm just putting that there for now. And the movie really doesn't have much of a plot, and I actually found myself feeling pretty bored throughout large sections of the movie. I would still say it's somewhat worth watching just for how, like, good and unique the animation is, but the story is extremely dull. There are some fun moments in it. I do kind of enjoy some of the moments where she's doing stuff with the dwarfs, like, you know, they make it kind of musical and fun. But it's not, you know, it's a very cliche feeling movie, and maybe that's just because, you know, I'm watching it decades after it came out, and this is probably one of the most parodied movies in existence, so of course it's going to feel like cliched in this day and age. So maybe that's a little unfair. I'm trying to be somewhat understanding of, like, the time period it came out, but even so, I gotta be honest about my opinion. Even at the end, I was actually really surprised at the end of the movie that the prince who, like, shows up and, like, wakes Snow White up with the kiss. I mean, you all know the story. He had nothing to to do with most of the story. So, given all of that, I wouldn't give it F tier, but I would give it, like, it's like between C and D tier. I might rearrange some stuff on this list after I've fully completed it, but for now, honestly, I'm gonna put it in the D tier for dwarfs. I don't know. But yeah. The next movie I would say is a significant improvement in terms of story. I'm still not gonna say it's amazing, that it's like the greatest story ever, or anything like that. But Pinocchio is a very it's a very fun movie. I understand why that's such a beloved movie. The animation, again, is really, really good, and this time without any, like, kind of awkward-looking characters, like how Snow White kind of looked a little bit awkward at some parts of her own movie. But, oh man, there's, like, this scene in Pinocchio where it's, like, underwater, and everything looks gorgeous. Like, just absolutely incredible. And a lot of the environments in this movie are beautiful looking. The story seems to have a lot of themes of, like, you know, you know, it's definitely like trying to get children to, like, behave themselves and that sort of thing. You know, listen to your parents kind of morals. But there also seems to be, like, I definitely feel like there's a moral in this movie about stranger danger as well. The movie actually gets really disturbingly dark when you think about it. I don't know if this is just like, I don't know whether this would have, like, whether people would have thought the same things about this movie back when it came out in like the 1940s. But there's like a scene. There's like the one of the main villains of the movie is this guy who literally says like he wants to he wants to get little boys and take them and kidnap them away to Pleasure Island, which just sounds really fucked up for a number of disturbing reasons. And it kind of and it is fucked up. Like in the movie, it's not fucked up in the same way, but it turns out they're turning these kids into donkeys and then basically selling them as like donkey slaves. It's fucking weird shit. It's incredibly dark. It like that movie got way darker than I thought it would. And there's even some like weird stuff. Like there's like this clock in Geppetto's like house with. I get things were different back when this movie was made, but it still disturbs me. Like, there's a clock that shows, like, a child, like, being spanked. It's weird, There's some stuff in that movie that aged weirdly. That's what I'll say for now. But it's still a really entertaining movie with a really cool story. I'll put it in, I want to say B tier. I think it's a solid B tier movie. Okay, so the next movie we have is Fantasia, and we're going to put that in F for Fantasia. No, I'm just kidding. So Fantasia, is essentially, it's an animated anthology, and it's all just these animations that are set to this music, like this orchestra music, and there's like these live action segments in between that like kind of show the performers starting to perform, and then it kind of transitions into the animation that is meant to go along with the music, which I think is a really cool idea for an anthology series. My only problem is some of them are a lot better than other ones, and I feel like overall a lot of them, like, to me at least, overstay their welcome. Like, they're fun for a little while, and then they just go on for too long, and I get bored of it. Which is funny, because one of my favorite things in the world is, like, AMVs, like, seeing animations that are set along to music. But, I just felt like a lot of the ones in Fantasia just don't... They just, they weren't good enough to justify the runtime. So I'm going to put it in C tier. Because I still think the idea is really cool. I just don't think it's... I don't know. I knew this was like a really famous thing that Disney did, and maybe my expectations were too high when I watched it. But, yeah, it didn't quite meet my expectations, but that's not to say I didn't enjoy it at all. So yeah, I think C tier is pretty appropriate. Okay, so the next one is Dumbo. Dumbo might be my favorite one that I've seen from this era of Disney. I'm not sure. I gotta remember some of the other ones, but I would say Dumbo is probably a highlight to some extent, maybe that's because I don't know. I always felt like I think some part of me connected with Dumbo because just seeing him kind of get like bullied for his ears and stuff, and I unfortunately you know, had to deal with a lot of bullying when I was younger. That was pretty lame, and you know, I connected with Dumbo, and I liked this movie's message about how, you know, having something that's different about you isn't always a bad thing, and people shouldn't always treat you badly because you're different. You know, it's again, it's done in a very old school way, but I still appreciate it nonetheless. I think it's a nice message. Okay, I know there's literally like the whole controversy. There's some stuff in this movie that aged weirdly, of course, like many of the movies in this era. There was the crows, which were, I guess, a little stereotypy. But I kind of still, I don't know if this is gonna make me sound bad, but I kind of still enjoyed them as characters. Like I know they were kind of stereotypy, which is the, but I don't know. I understood how if you're not overthinking about that fact, how they can actually be, you know, fun characters. And I enjoyed their a lot of these movies. It's been like a long time since I've watched them because I watched these over like a period of like a few months, so some of these might be harder for me to remember, but I'm pretty sure they sang like a song in Dumbo that I remember thinking was like, you know, pretty catchy. But yeah, I really like Dumbo quite a bit. Oh, and before I even place it, I gotta mention like the pink elephant scene. I'll be honest. I have vague memories. This is one of the few Disney movies that I have vague memories of watching as a kid, and I think I saw the Dumbo pink elephant scene, and I'm pretty sure it probably gave me nightmares as a kid. But watching it as an adult who like has like an appreciation for, I mean, like I said earlier, I like animations that go along with like music. I just find that really fun and cool. And I think I have a deeper appreciation for animation than I did when I was younger, funnily enough. And so just seeing the incredible like beauty in that scene, as weird as it is, because it's a scene that comes up from Dumbo getting drunk, which is not something I think you'd see in a modern Disney movie. But it's such a fun scene in the movie, like looking at it now, even though it creeped the shit out of me as a kid. I actually really love it now. So you know what? I think I'm going to put Dumbo in A tier. Dumbo is an A tier movie. I really enjoyed it. It's still not like a 10 out of 10 movie, but just in terms of like Disney movies, it's really good, you know? Especially compared to a lot of the other movies of this era. Okay, so the next movie is Bambi. Man, I thought I was gonna like this movie, and I didn't like it very much. I think this might have been, to me, one of the more boring. It still had things I liked about it. It still had things that I liked about it. I can't totally shit talk this movie, but I don't know. I in a way I was almost expecting it to be like and maybe this was a stupid expectation to have, but just from what I had heard about it, I kind of assumed it was maybe similar to like Unico. For anyone who's ever seen the anime movie Unico, it's basically like an animated kids movie, um, but it deals with some pretty like heavy and kind of dark themes, and kind of sad themes as well. So I had a feeling Bambi was gonna be similar in that way, and I think just because of that, I was expecting to like it more than I did because I really like Unico, um, but it does have that, like it has these kind of darker, sadder themes, and you're just kind of watching this reindeer like grow up in the forest, and just seeing all the just so many things that happen throughout his life, as the movie progresses, and the relationships that he forms, like the one he forms with the rabbit who he becomes friends with. Again, you'll have to forgive me if I can't remember some of these movies that well, because for me, I am making this video a long time. It took me a really long time to get through like a lot of the anthology movies, because the anthology movies, I I don't know. I just looked at them. I just looked at some of these anthology movies, and I was just like, I don't feel like watching that. um, so it took me a long time to get through them. So a lot of these movies, and because of that, I'm doing this tier list like literal months after having seen some of these. But Bambi, it's an interesting concept. I definitely say there are things I like about it. But overall, I found the movie's pacing to be a little too slow for me. I don't feel like enough happens to justify the runtime, I guess. Um, you know, it was probably a great movie for the time. But looking back on it today, it's fine. There's some enjoyable things in there, but overall, it's not that good. It's not that good. I don't love it. So the next one we have here is Saludos Amigos. There is I'll be honest. I straight up didn't like this, and I barely remember anything from it at all. I remember vaguely that there was kind of like a skit with Goofy in it, which makes sense. Goofy's on the cover. It just has, these kind of famous Disney characters, doing stuff in like, in like Mexico, I think, basically. And one thing I did appreciate about it is, you kind of get a behind the scenes peek at how they made the movie at the start. Like they talk about how they basically just sent a bunch of animators and artists by plane to Mexico, or I might be wrong. Hold on, I gotta fact check myself for a second. Okay, well, when I look it up on Wikipedia, it says Latin America. Yeah, I am terrible at geography, and I'm also sick and sleep deprived, so forgive me if I sound incredibly stupid in anything that I say. But yeah, I thought it was interesting how they made it. Like, they just sent these animators and artists out here and were just like, try to get inspired to make stuff, basically. Which is cool, but like, it didn't really do much for me. I think I'm just gonna leave it in F tier. Watch it if you want to, but I don't think I'd recommend it to like anybody. honestly. The Three Caballeros, I might have liked this mildly more so than Saludos Amigos, but only mildly more so. I don't think I have much to say other than that. Actually, no, I think there was one other thing I think I appreciated about it is I believe there were like some live action segments of Donald Duck interacting with like live action people at some points. At some points in it, and I thought it like looked really good and really impressive for the time. So that was cool. But other than that, I didn't care. I did not care much about it. Uh, Same with this one. I actually can't separate these two. I actually can't separate like these two in my brain. I remember bits and pieces of them, but I can't remember which bits and pieces came from like which one of these anthology movies. And that's probably the same for Melody Time, which I'm just gonna skip ahead and put that in there too. Fun and Fancy Free. Another anthology movie. It has like the Mickey Mouse characters go through. The only actual part of it that I remember is like their parody of the Jack and the Beanstalk thing, which was pretty fun. I kind of enjoyed that mildly. So I'll put it like one tier above. I'll put it in D tier. Wow, looking at this tier list, I really did not like this era of Disney all that much. I found it interesting to watch. Don't get me wrong there, but yeah, it's this era of Disney's just I don't know. It didn't age terrifically. That's the best way I can put it. Now, I guess the last one we gotta do here is The Adventures of Ichabod and Mr. Toad, which is basically like two movies in one that are kind of like the story of Mr. Toad is like the first half of the movie, and the story of Ichabod is like the second half of the movie. I enjoyed Ichabod's. Mr. Toad's, you know what? I enjoyed them both a little bit. I don't know if I really have much to say about it. Though, ultimately, other than, you know, Mr. Toad, I mean, I guess I could just sort of explain the plot a bit. Mr. Toad is, like, irresponsible, and it seems like he stole a car, but he actually didn't steal a car, but because he's really irresponsible, nobody believes him. So he gets arrested, and then he breaks out of jail, and then he's got to go fight a mafia. Yeah, it was fine. You know, I enjoyed it. The story of Ichabod, he's trying to like seduce this lady, or he's trying to get with this lady, but this guy who doesn't like him tries to scare him out of it. And then he has to face off against this headless horseman monster. And, you know, it was fun. I enjoyed it, and I remember it pretty fondly, but I also just don't have much to say about it. It was just like, yeah, I liked it. C tier. So, yeah, I guess that's basically, the first era of Disney. That is, this is what I think generally of the Disney era of 1930s to 1940s. Let me know if you agree with me, if you don't agree with me. What do you think about these movies? Do you think I'm being too hard of them, or do you think I'm being too hard on them given the time they came out? Because that might be true, but yeah. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed watching this video. Hit like if you did, and I will see you guys in the next video. Goodbye.